All right, we can go ahead and get started here. My name is Graham Thomas, one of our deputy directors here at tnAchieves, and appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today as we dive into our local Gibson County numbers. When we launched Tennessee Promise back in 2015, it was written in legislation that each county mayor or county executive appoint a group of people that we call a local advisory council to do a couple of things. One, provide some guidance for us. Specifically, as we were launching the program, we were going into communities and counties that we'd never been before. And so we needed help finding mentors and finding the right stakeholders to help support our students. But it was also designed for an additional level of accountability so that we had local input about the way that we were serving our students, because we know that what works in Gibson County may not work in Madison County, may not work in Shelby County, that every community is different and unique. So wanted to make sure that we were serving students in each of our communities to the best of our ability. This year, we decided to provide these updates virtually. And so we invited everyone, all of our college partners, our external partners, our mentors. And so really excited that you're here today. As we're going through this, if you have questions, please let me know. You can interrupt me, ask questions, you can save them till the end, you can type them in the chat box. Want to make sure that we get all your questions answered before we leave here today. But with that, I will jump in here. Talk a little bit about a quick reminder who we are. tnAchieves is a 501c3 nonprofit that operates Tennessee Promise in 90 of our state's 95 counties, launched in Knox County in 2008. And since then, we have worked with more than 440,000 students, 71,000 volunteers. We work with more than 600 high schools across the state and 67 colleges in Tennessee. This next slide shows what we call the core components of tnAchieves. So you see here the last dollar scholarship, which is now paid for by the state in the form of Tennessee Promise, that allows students to go to our 13 community colleges, our 27 Tennessee colleges of applied technology, as well as 27 universities across the state tuition free. Each student in the 90 counties that we serve is paired with a volunteer mentor that is checking in and providing guidance throughout the college going process. And then our students give back 8 hours of community service every semester they receive the scholarship. Those three kind of core components of tnAchieves have been with us really since this was just an idea on a whiteboard in 2008. And since then, we've added a few additional layers of support, one of which is our summer programs. We have a summer bridge program that we operate at all 13 community colleges for students that are not testing into college level coursework in at least one subject. It could be math, reading, or writing. Some of them require all three of those classes in the form of a learning support course. They come, they do a 3-week basically boot camp, an hour of reading, an hour of writing, an hour of math every day, and they take the post test at the end. Really exciting announcement. We had an 89% success rate in that program this year. 89% of the students that participated either improved or tested into college level coursework at the end. The other summer program that we offer is called Summer Institute. We offer that in the urban core of Memphis. It is a 6-week program. It is for students that do require all 3 learning support classes, and it's credit bearing. So those students actually come, they knock out all of their learning support courses and can earn up to 9 hours of college credit using that co-requisite model that TBR has. And most exciting news probably of the entire presentation, 100% success rate in that program this year. 29 students participated, 29 students completed all their learning support courses and earned 9 hours of college credit. So students that were going to start a semester behind are starting a semester ahead. Finally, one of the newer pieces of our program is the complete coaching model. So what we have learned over the last 7 years is that our low income students in Tennessee, unfortunately, are still not going to college at rates as high as their peers. And when they go, they don't graduate at rates as high as their peers. And so we are placing them with someone on our team like Esther, who is a complete coach that is reaching out, getting to know these students and coaching them through college. Kind of where the mentor's work leaves off, the coach's work begins. And we have actually seen our lowest performing population is now retaining from their freshman to sophomore year at a rate higher than the general Tennessee Promise population. So really promising there. No graduation data yet, but we should have that in the next year or so. Continuing to look at the tnAchieves reach, you can see that we operate in 90 counties. 74 of which are rural, 35 are considered at risk or distressed by the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. And we work in 601 high schools in those 90 counties. That includes all the public, private, and homeschool cooperatives in those 90 counties. We work with 67 colleges across the state, and then you can see where it is our students are attending college. 79% of which exercise that community college option, with a pretty equal split there, 11% enrolling at our technical colleges and 10% at our four-year universities. This next slide continues to show the scope of our work. More than 60,000 seniors applying for the scholarship annually. You pair that with our 30,000+ college students. We're working with more than 90,000 students every single year. 89% of all high school seniors in Tennessee go through the tnAchieves program. When you pair that with the Ayers Foundation and the work they're doing in the other 5 counties, more than 90% of students are applying for Tennessee Promise, but 89% of all high school seniors come through the tnAchieves program. 78% of the first-time full-time freshmen at Tennessee community colleges come through our program. And a number we're really proud of, 86% of all community college graduates are tnAchieves students. When I take a step back, I've been here since pretty much the very beginning, and think about 13 years ago, we were working with 490 students in Knoxville. Now we're working with over 60,000 every single year. Sometimes I have to pinch myself a little bit and think about the scope at which we're operating, but it's also really motivating to wake up every day and think that if our students can be successful, that we're moving the needle for students all across Tennessee. The next slide here shows some of our demographic information. 56% of students qualify for federal financial aid, which means a Pell Grant, which means they're coming from low-income households. 40% are self-reported as first-generation college students. It's a little bit of a tricky number there when you stop and think that only about 44% of adults in Tennessee have a post-secondary credential. The fact that only 40% of our students, again, self-reporting on the FAFSA seems a little low, probably a little bit higher number. There's also just not a great definition of what exactly is a first-generation college student, but that's what they are reporting there. And then another number, we pulled this just recently, a few weeks ago, to see what our students are studying while they're in college. And we're really excited to see that more than half of them are majoring in health science or STEM-related fields. What that means is that those are the most in-demand fields in Tennessee. So our students are setting themselves up to earn a credential that will make them desirable for employers, that they're going to find meaningful work, and hopefully without a whole lot of struggle there, because those fields do have a lot of job openings. At the bottom, you can see $32 million is the annual scholarship cost. That comes out to about $1,100 per student. And then tnAchieves annual operating costs, privately funded, of about $2.5 million. Next, we're going to look at some of our local Gibson County data. And the first one that jumps out at me right away is your FAFSA filing rate is extraordinary. 97% of Tennessee Promise applicants in Gibson County filed a FAFSA compared to 86% statewide. There is a dedicated person. If you remember, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. There's another program that operated Gibson County for the first 5 years of Tennessee Promise before tnAchieves, called Ready. His name is a guy there named Craig Clay, who stayed on and is present in the high schools. And I think this is a giant testament to the work that he's doing and the work of our counselors in the high schools, ensuring that the FAFSA is just no longer a barrier for students. 97% doesn't get much higher than that. We've got a couple counties at 100%, but much smaller counties, much fewer students. 97% cannot beat that. Community service, you see that since we launched our program, 3.4 million hours statewide. That's a number that we are really, really proud of. Gibson County, more than 10,000 hours completed there. So hopefully you are seeing that work being completed in your community, in your schools, with your nonprofits. We have great chamber partners in Gibson County. Hopefully you are seeing the rewards of that work being done by local Tennessee Promise students. Here is probably the most important slide that we're going to talk about today. So this is information from your class of 2019, where you had 621 students apply, 160 of which enrolled using Tennessee Promise, and their fall to fall retention rate is 73%, 6 points higher than the state average. What that means is 73% of your students that began college came back in their sophomore year. We don't have graduation data yet for Gibson County. We haven't been operating in your community long enough to have a 3-year graduation rate, but we will soon. And as soon as we do, we will share that with you. Statewide, it's 35%. So hopefully, as you're trending in the right direction with your retention, you will continue to outpace the state in regards to graduation as well. Next, we have some statewide outcomes. You can see that the first year retention rate for your full-time first-time freshmen at any community college, this is Tennessee Promise population and non-Tennessee Promise population, 53%. For Tennessee Achieve students at our eligible colleges across the state, that first year retention rate is 67%. And for students that go through our program and go to college, whether they're using Tennessee Promise or not, their fall to fall retention rate is 74%. So that includes those students that go to UT Martin right there in your backyard, Union, University of Memphis, MTSU, TSU, where it is that they're interested in going. But they've been assisted by our program. They've been given a mentor. They've received FAFSA help. 74% of them that are going to college are coming back for their sophomore year, which is a really solid rate there. Our 6-year graduation rate for Tennessee Achieve students that start at a community college is 51% versus a statewide average at 35%. A couple of things fall into this 51%. These are your students that go to Jackson State, earn their associate's degree and go straight to work, go to the TCAT, or no, sorry, this is just community colleges, go straight to work or transfer. And these are also your students that go to Jackson State maybe for a year, knock out some of those core classes, and then they transfer onto that four-year university and within 6 years earn a bachelor's degree. So really strong numbers here. It seems a little odd to celebrate 51%, knowing that almost half of them are not graduating. But when we started this program, the 3-year graduation rate at the community college was 14%. So we are trending in the right direction. On the right side of the slide here, you see things that we are doing to impact these student outcomes. We talked about the summer programs earlier. Not only are those successful in their intended goal of getting students ready for college, but students that participate have increased their retention by 34%. Mentioned the complete coaching model, students participating in that have increased their retention by 23%. And then we have a new program in Knoxville called Knox Promise. It is funded by the Haslam family that has allowed us to do a couple of things there. One, every single Knox County student that goes to college using Tennessee Promise gets a coach. Statewide, only low-income students. In Knoxville, every single student. The second thing we're able to do there is offer what we call completion grants, maybe more familiar to some of you as emergency grant funding. But we are able to take our students that qualify in the lower income categories. We can pay for their books, we can pay for their gas, we can pay utility bills, we can pay their grocery bills if they're food insecure. We've paid for transitional housing for some students. Really promising outcomes there. Most of those students go to Pellissippi State Community College in Knoxville. And what we're hearing from Pellissippi is that through the pandemic, the Knox Promise cohort has been their most successful cohort in terms of retention. So really promising. We do have a pilot program with the state this year to offer completion grant funding. Students that qualify received an email from us on Monday. I know that Esther is fielding those requests this week. So students that need funding for books, for travel expenses, food, utility bills, any of those things, if they qualify, they received a communication from us and they can apply. Really hoping we can move the needle in terms of retention and graduation. Take that back. This is funded through the state. The General Assembly gave us a 4-year pilot program, hoping that we can move the needle and go back to the state and really bolster this program and boost some funding so that we can expand our coaching and provide more completion grants. Everything in this presentation to this point has been really positive. Then we get to this slide and you can see that all the gains that we made the first year of Tennessee Promise, 2014 to 2015, increased the college going rate by 4.6%. Steady increases for the next couple of years. We plateaued a little bit and then COVID hit and we went down about 5 percentage points. Looks like locally we went down almost 6 percentage points. This is something we really want to dig in on. If there's such thing as a higher ed crisis, this is it. And we're seeing this obviously, as you see here across Tennessee, across the country. Early indicators suggest that this year, class of 2021, we're going to come in back around this 57% mark. Looks like enrollment has remained flat from last year. So we really want to work to increase that. And there's a couple things you can do to help us with this. First is our mentoring program. Really something where we concentrate a lot of our efforts on the access side. We need 9,000 mentors across the state to serve first as a task manager, reminding students of their deadlines, to submit their financial aid paperwork, to complete their admissions file, to make progress towards college while remaining eligible for Tennessee Promise. 2, to serve as that trusted family resource, the person they can reach out to when they don't know the next step, or they get a letter from financial aid and they don't know what it means, or they just need help with something. And finally, the piece that I've argued for the last 13 years is the most important, is the encouragement piece, that, hey, you can do this and we're going to do it together and I'm going to hold your hand. And yes, it's a little bit uncertain out there right now. And I think to have those honest conversations about anyone who's ever been to college before struggles at some point in time. I struggled in math. I remember going to UT my first semester and being completely overwhelmed just by the entire experience. Other students are working full-time and balancing full-time work and full-time school, and they have commitments at home. And to just say, like, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're having a hard time, everyone feels that way sometimes. Mentoring in 2022 will look a little different than it did in 2021, which has looked significantly different than the previous years. So if you mentored with us this year, you know that we invested in tnAchieves Connect, which is an online platform that allows you to meet with students virtually, a lot like what we're doing right now. It also allows you to track students in a way that we never had before. You get to see when they submit their community service hours, when they've applied to a college, when they have enrolled full-time. You're seeing that as soon as we're seeing that. We surveyed our current mentors, and 2/3 of them told us that they want an in-person option in 2022. So we're going to do 2 things. First, we're going to host what we call open houses, hopefully at college campuses across Tennessee, where we'll block off a 3 or 4 hour time frame and give you a space to come and meet with your students. One of our staff members will be there to answer questions and help with anything that we can. We're also hoping that there will be college staff there, computers so students can apply, they can knock out anything they're missing in their admissions file. We can see where they are in the process, kind of a one-stop shop, but give you an opportunity to meet with them and have support from tnAchieves. If you mentored with us previous to this year, you might remember those crazy, big, crowded high school meetings that we used to do. We're not going back to those. We're going to give you the opportunity to do this open house or to meet with students on your own. We have never really encouraged that before, but we know that mentors are doing it. Our board chairman, Randy Boyd, takes his students to pizza at the beginning of every year. We had a mentor this year who did basically a summer bridge program under a tree in her front yard, had a student come that she tutored, got her ready for the placement test. As long as you're not putting them in the car with you, you're meeting them in a public space, we're going to be fine with it, all while trying to honor that 12-hour a year time commitment. We need 94 mentors in Gibson County to keep up with the student demand. And I will tell you, last year we came up quite a bit short. I think only found about half of what we need. It was the lowest percentage to goal in the state. A couple of things here. We've only been operating in Gibson County for a couple of years, and we really need to be present in your community. I'm going to talk about that next. And we weren't able to do that last year, but we really want to make sure we find these 94 people to support students, because we know it's going to be really important as we continue to navigate this pandemic. If you've not been a mentor with us before and you'd like to, the website is on the screen here, tnAchieves.org/mentors. You can go do a new mentor application. We'll have training information out to you soon. If you're a returning mentor, you can do the returning application or just reply to one of our emails and we can get you back in the system. Other things you can do is connect us to your community. Where are the active people? We would love to come and present to your civic organizations, to your chamber meetings. If you have an email blast, we can provide you with newsletter content. Or if you're just willing to send the need out from your personal email to your friends, family, coworkers, church groups, whatever it might be, we can provide you with that. So if you have an opportunity for us to share, great. If you have an opportunity to send this out to people in your community, email mentors@tnAchieves.org and we will get you all of that information. And then finally, the Tennessee Promise application for students is available. As you saw in the presentation earlier, more than 90% of students across the state are applying. Our school counselors do a wonderful job making sure students know about this opportunity. It's a great partnership with them, but it never hurts to reach out to that family who has a high school senior and just provide them with a quick reminder. That is all of the information that I have for you today. Here you have my contact information. Please, anytime you have questions, comments, you need anything, you can reach out to me directly. That's my cell phone number, my email. What I'm going to do now is stop sharing my screen so I can see everyone. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, would be happy to take those. Anybody? All right, well, we appreciate your time here today. We have said it often for the last 6 or 7 years now that our program really is only as successful as the communities that we serve allow us to be. And so we would certainly love that opportunity to get back on the road, be active in your community, sharing this information. We can do large statewide Tennessee Promise talks. We can do very specific Gibson County talks. We can shrink it into the Jackson State service area. We can do whatever it is you would like for us to do, but really appreciate you being here today and appreciate your support. If we can ever do anything for you, let us know. Have a good afternoon.